don't get a whole lot done in this next episode, but I do show you how to make the lead screws here and show you what the process is for creating those from scratch. It's not too complicated, but it takes a while to learn all the practices and kind of figure out how it works. Anyway, stay tuned. Hey everyone, this is Kevin with InventMart, back for the next episode. And the last episode we got these completed, the XY rod mounts here. And today I thought we'd get started on the lead screws and the brass nut. I'm going to show you how to make these from scratch. And the first thing we need to do is we can select everything and hide it, just so we can work on that one thing. And to unhide it, you press Alt-H, or you can actually open another window with Blender. You can actually open multiple blenders. It's actually quite handy to use. I use that quite often. And for lead screws, there's a on Banggood they have these 300mm Z-axis 8mm screw. They are almost all lead screws are the 2mm pitch on them, but these ones are relatively decent price. You can get them from a US warehouse for a little bit more, or a China warehouse for a little bit less. But they're a decent price. That's not bad at all. And actually, the ones that I got for mine were 600mm, and they were like $16. But they're actually really good. They're really smooth, and they have almost zero tolerance on them. They're just super smooth. And they're not a sponsor or anything. I wish they were. They have a lot of good stuff on here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started and get this made. First thing we want to do is create the cylinder itself. It's 8mm. I'm going to go ahead and boost that up, and 8x8 by 300. So we have the lead screw there. And what I'm actually going to do is something a little bit different. I'm going to go into edit mode, select just these bottom vertices and cursor to selected. So cursor is going to move down here, and then set origin, and set the origin of this object to where the 3D cursor is, where we just put it. So that way, when you size it, the size doesn't move up from here; it just moves on the Z-axis or from the other end. But now that we resized that, we can actually put the cursor back in the center and move this to the center. So this is going to be exactly at 0. We can zoom in as far as we want, and it will be right on 0 up here. And this will help to make the thread in here. So the next thing we want to do is create a plane, rotate X 90 degrees, and it's already at 2x2. Actually, we don't want to make a face on that. Okay, just go ahead and make a plane, rotate it 90 degrees on X, and this doesn't have to be super accurate, but it can go like this and just get it pretty close. And what we want to do is go to the modifier tools, and there's a screw option here. And I gotta figure out which one it is. I think it's the Y. Yeah, it's the Y option. And then once you've applied that, you can go over to the edit mode and move it out along the X-axis and just kind of make it a little bit bigger. And I like to turn up the steps to make it match. So 64 steps is just how many faces are around the entire object. And so that makes it just slightly, make it pretty close. Doesn't have to be exact. We're not making the exact model here, we're just making a representation of it. And the pitch on this is 2mm. So in between it, each one of these is going to be from this point to this point. It should be, is it 2 millimeters? I'm trying to think. Yeah, from center to center it should be 2 millimeters, so this should actually be 1 millimeter. Let me double check that real quick. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead and resize this. Turn this off. And make the Z or the X. Change the orientation. Just Control A. The rotation sets the rotation properly. So change it to 1 by 1. Go to edit mode. And I'll turn this back on. And that totally messed it up. So let's go ahead and start over. Plane, rotate X. Instead of changing the orientation, let's just leave it the way it is. That's how it was working before. Go to edit mode. Kind of move this over there. So it's over on that block there. Now we can add the spring modifier. Or a screw. I call it the spring, I don't know. Because you can use it to make springs really easily. And that doesn't look right as well. What's going on here? Let's go ahead and just add a plane. Resize it first. Down to 1. And then add the modifier here now. Screw modifier. And then edit mode. And then rotate it around. Then move it up. Okay, then change the steps to 64. And that sets the pitch to 2. And you can set the iterations up until you see it up here. Let's go slightly above it. And it only goes up to 100, but you can make it go higher if you need to. Let's do 155, 150. Yeah, 150 would make sense for it to work, because 150 is by 2 would be 300. It's the length of this. So we got that now. We can apply that. First you have to go out of edit mode, then apply it. Now I have this entire object here first. But first we need to make this object solid. So we need to deselect everything, select this edge here, hit F to make it solid, and we need to do the same thing to the bottom. Yeah, so now that this is a solid object. Now we right click on the cylinder and do a boolean on it. It's going to take it a while here because it's quite a lot of vertices to calculate. Sometimes Blender will freeze and not work properly. I think that worked, so hit apply, and it'll turn away for a little bit, and it'll say not responding up here, even though it is working. Now we can delete the plane, and then we have a lead screw. So now we have this object. What we need to make next for it is the brass mounting item on there. And to do that, you just make a cylinder. Size it up. Extract. Don't move it anywhere, just size it up. Extract. You have the basic idea of it. I don't have the exact dimensions, so I'm not really going to make the exact dimensions on this right now. I'll get that later and fix it. But I actually already have one modeled for my other one. But then you have that, and then what we need to do with that is create another cylinder. This one would be 3 by 3 by 3. Actually, not more than 3, like 10 or something like that. Make sure that that's going through this lip here. And I want X to be 0. But you want to kind of get this lined up where it needs to be. I don't know the exact measurements on it. So what we can do now is set origin to 3D cursor, being that's still in the center. We can duplicate that by Shift D, rotate 90, Shift D, duplicate, rotate 90, Shift D, rotate 90. So we have 4 of those now. Now we can select all of those and Control J, join them. And we can take this. No, and first, actually, I'm going to make this accurate. I'm going to move these up a little bit. I'm going to size this up. I'm going to scale it to 1:1, because Control A sets all the scale and the rotation and everything back to basically the default 0 or 1. Scale of 1:1. So what we can do is scale this down a little bit. We just make this 0.95. Actually, on the Z, we're going to leave that at 1. So we're just going to scale the X and Y, that in those plane areas. And what we're going to do is do another Boolean on this. Or actually, we haven't done one yet, but we did one on the threaded rod there. So we do a Boolean on this difference, then we take the threaded rod, the difference in there. And so that we'll cut that out of it. Apply. Then if we make this go back to 1, you now have the clearance on the X and Y on here. And you could scale it a little bit on the Z, not much, but that just gets the clearance in there just right. And then we can do another Boolean now and get those other 4 cylinders cut out of it. Then we have the bushing for the threaded rod here. Let's move it over and see we have the interior on it too. Move it back. So now what we can do is select both of these. Just like you're copying and pasting, you can actually copy from one Blender file to another one and copy it from here, but Control C, and then go into the one that we're working on and press Control V, and then you have the exact copy over here. And that's basically how you copy and paste from one Blender to another. Works awesome for doing different things. So now we kind of want to position this where we want to have it on here. And so I'll keep the threaded rod, but I'm going to actually delete that and open my other file. And I'm just going to go in here and copy that, and then paste that here. There we go. Cursor to selected. Selected to cursor. There we go. I got that on there. And it's probably different, but it's not much. Is it actually lining up? Looks like it is. Huh. Well, at least I'm consistent with how I'm doing it, so that's good. Alright, so we got that there. So how this is going to work is the bushing here needs to be fixed to the bed, and we need to actually make part of the bed that's going to be functioning here. Because this needs to connect to both the bed and to the one of the corners here. You can even put these in the middle if you wanted. You can actually use 4 of them, or however many you want, really. I'd like to use 2 because most control boards have 2 motors built in with them, but this should be good. And I'm trying to think what would be best here. Because this is going to have a bearing, so let's go ahead and try to get this in the middle. That's 107. Here's the 3D cursor where it's at. So this is about on the Y. This is the Y here. This is Y. This is the X. So it's 107. And over here is 150. So that's 43. So 43 divided by 2 would be 21 and a half. So I want to have that about 21 and a half. That doesn't seem right. Oh, 21 and a half, so it would be 28 point. Almost 29. Let's just do 129. This is all arbitrary, it doesn't have to be exact or anything. So, and so the X is 128. Let's just say 129. That's, wait, no, the X is 150 and 107. So pretty much the same. Just make them both 129. And we can duplicate that and make this 129 here and negative 129 here. So that way they're both located in the same spot. So we have the linear rails right where they need to be. You can grab both of these together. So that one's not lined up right. There we go. And so what we would need to do now is also locate and put the rails in. let's go ahead and just duplicate one of these rails. Control D. Let me turn on my screencast keys. I keep forgetting to turn those on. Hit X90. We'll just have this be 129, 129. Duplicate that. And have that negative 129, and then negative 129. I have all four of those. These are going to need to be moved down somewhat. Because these don't move at all, they're just going to be stationary, and it's going to secure the base platform here. And what I've actually decided to do is I'm actually going to build this printer too. I'm going to take my current printer that I have that's kind of like the Franken printer and use all the components and rebuild it into this so that I'll have two really good 3D printers, because my current design, it works pretty well, but it's just that not perfect in certain ways that it could be so much better. First I want to make sure the big one I got made is going to work too, but once that's working I can tear apart the other one and make parts with the new one to make for the old one and kind of give it a new life on it. And so this one, so what we want to do next, I'm trying to think, what should we do? Got those located where we want them. How am I going on time here? Hour, about 20 minutes. So I'm going to stop this tutorial for now on this one, and I'm going to keep recording and make this next recording for the next part of it. But what we'll do is we will make the tray for the bottom part here and make the bearings and bushings that hold onto the frame here for the other part. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next one where I can tell you what I just did. Or we make what I told you we're going to do. Anyway, stay tuned.